We are not rare. But before you leave, you will perceive the lore will be unlocked. You might be stalked by a Sasquatch or a ghost witch, possibly even a ghost that will boast about knowing the Ohio grassman or even the Michigan dogman. Werewolves hunt, poltergeists are up front, but in these backwoods folklore is unlocked.
Welcome back to Folklore Unlocked. I'm Austin, and like always, I'm joined by Ethan.
Yep, hello again, everyone.
This week, we are taking a look at the mysterious set of letters known as the Circleville Letters. And before we actually get into the story about the Circleville Letters, a little bit about Circleville itself. It's a city located in Pickaway County in Ohio near the Scioto River. I believe that's correct pronunciation, but I'm not sure. So go easy on me for that. And it's about 25 miles south of Columbus, Ohio, which Columbus itself will be part of the story coming up. And in 2020, the population was just north of 13,920.
And the beginning of the letters, so it started with Mary Gillispie, a school bus driver. She started receiving letters in 1976. That was where postmarked, like we said, Columbus is part of this because it was postmarked from Columbus. But they had no return address. The writer accused Mary of having an affair with the school superintendent, and that the writer knew she had kids because she observed Gillespie's household. Then, 8 days after receiving the first letter, she received a second letter, and she kept both of them to herself. She didn't tell anyone about them at first. Ron received a different letter stating if he did not stop his wife's affair, his life would be in jeopardy, and Mary told him about the letters because of that.
So, yeah, very interesting start.
Mm-hmm.
And then, about 2 weeks later, the threats ramped up from the writer as they threatened to make the allegations of the affair public by putting it on TV, CB radios, and billboards. And Mary and Ron had only told 3 people about these letters they'd been receiving. Ron's sister, her husband, Paul Freshour, who'll play a big part in all this, and Paul's sister. And Mary had ideas of who the writer might be, and the group decided to have Paul write letters back, claiming the group knew who the writer was. And this seemingly worked as letters stopped for several weeks.
So, threats coming true. So on August 1977, or August 19th, 1977, Ron received a call allegedly from the writer, and that seemingly confirmed the identity of the writer to Ron because he grabbed his gun, got out in the truck, and it was even though the caller or writer said they were watching the truck. But a few minutes, Ron was found dead in his truck because it had crashed into a tree. An investigation found that he had fired at least one shot before crashing. And then Sheriff Dwight Radcliffe questioned and eliminated one suspect. And then Sheriff Radcliffe claimed that the death was an accident because Ron losing control while driving drunk.
And there is a little bit of suspicion about this drunk driving angle because several other people received letters saying that Sheriff Radcliffe had covered up the death of Ron. And Paul, remember, who was Ron's brother-in-law, it said that Radcliffe initially agreed that Ron's death was the result of foul play. And Radcliffe had allegedly changed his mind after the suspect passed the polygraph test, which is only like 50% accurate. And Ron's blood alcohol content was apparently 0.16, which is twice the legal limit. And Ron's friends and family were surprised by this, as they didn't think he was a heavy drinker.
Yeah, this just sounds a little suspicious.
Yeah, just all around suspicious.
The affair allegations were kinda confirmed because Mary and the superintendent did later acknowledge their affair, but they claim that it started after the letters started. So.
And then February 1983, the violence seems to have ramped up even more because Mary had begun being harassed via threatening signs set up along her bus route. And one day, Mary had enough of these signs and decided to tear down a sign. And while she was doing this, she discovered a booby trap that was designed to kill her. And the trap was a box with a small pistol that was designed to fire if Mary pulled the sign out a certain way. And there was an attempt to rub the serial number off the pistol. And once they figure out the serial number, the pistol was found to be Paul's. So remember, Mary's brother-in-law because of Ron.
Then, of course, Paul goes to jail because Paul claimed first that the gun was stolen. Sheriff Radcliffe asked Paul to do a handwriting test, I guess to confirm it, that his handwriting was on the letters. And then Paul was arrested and charged for attempted murder. Mary testified that she believed that Paul was the writer after Paul's own wife had shared her own suspicions that he possibly could have been the one that done it. Then Paul's boss also stated that Paul wasn't at work on the day the booby trap was found, and then he was never charged for the letters.
And the weird part is that even while Paul was in jail, the letters continued. And what makes it weird is that Paul was in prison in solitary confinement where he received letters determined to keep him there, and the letters were still most postmarked from Columbus. And the thing is, Paul was in prison in Lima, Ohio, and Paul was finally paroled in 1994.
There are some possible suspects, or a possible suspect sighting, because another bus driver that shared Mary's bus route stated to have seen a man standing by yellow El Camino 20 minutes before Mary found the trap. And according to journalist Martin Yant, a possible suspect's brother owned the same type of car. And then description did not match Paul, who also had an alibi for this time.
So, some possible theories is that Paul was part of this letter scheme, and that he had accomplices to help him especially while he was in jail. And another theory is that it was an unknown suspect or suspects.
And then pop culture. So, of course, it was covered in Drunk History and also 48 Hours.
And on to our thoughts, as Paul has since passed away, and while he was living, continued to proclaim his own innocence. I don't think we'll ever truly know who wrote letters, but it does seem like Paul, whether it was solely him or him and accomplices, I don't think we'll ever truly know. But it does seem like Paul had some sort of connection to the letters besides, his sister-in-law being the main target and them seemingly targeting him while he was in jail. Just seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, with the evidence we have, I would say it was probably Paul with an accomplice, like we said there. And there was enough evidence between the gun and then also his handwriting, even though they were not able to say that, he wrote the letters, to put him in jail. So I feel like that possibly there was someone helping him along, and then when the letters continued while he was in jail, it was just proving a point that, it's not him writing the letters. They're still coming right now, so it can't be him. So, it possibly couldn't be Paul. There was a lot of suspicious stuff going on with the sheriff also as we were going over. So, there's some weird stuff happening, but I feel like it probably was Paul with an accomplice.
But like I said, since Paul since passed away and proclaimed his innocence, I don't think we'll ever truly know who sent the letters and possibly got away with it.
Uh-huh.
But with that, I think that's all we've got for this week. Any last words, Ethan?
Just thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, drop us a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, drop us a follow and a comment, and we'll see you next week.
You might wake up beside Spearfinger with an extended visit from Jack the Ripper. But if you're lucky, it'll be an angel on that range hill of Louisiana. You might meet Mary or the Road. At Folklore Unlocked, Austin and Ethan concoct their theory of the eerie and unexplained around the world, sometimes even the underworld. The lore is locked behind secrets, but folklore is meant to be unlocked. The Circleville is haunting NC as well as Tennessee. There are many giants that might be clients of the Dark Watchers, who might have psychokinesis. And the phantom time hypothesis is like a phoenix, coming back around again and again. The layers of strain on your brain. If you got more than two brain cells in you. Some believe McCartney's dead because they read into the Mandela effect, which is subject to folklore.